allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, we have everybody here. Yay. Welcome back, everybody that have been traveling and stuff this summer. There is no public here, so we'll go to approval of minutes for October 20th, 2021.
I'm Lurie. I move we approve the minutes.
Any discussion, Mike? No. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Mooring Field and staff report.
Good morning, Austin Gilchrist, Town of Fort Myers Beach. The field is currently at 84%. We have about 11 moorings left to rent. The front of the field is completely full, so we're working on getting things adjusted and getting boats in and out of there. We have 3 vessels that remain in the front of the field that are there pretty much for storage that we're trying to work on. We have the first 10 systems are open we're trying to keep them open for people less than probably 2 months. We're going for right now to keep the front of the field kind of open for transients. Those are our larger vessels as well coming in and out. So we, like I said before, we're completely full there. So we're starting to transition to the back of the field and utilize the back of the field more. See the vessels, I'm starting to notice a lot of them are booking till the end of December. So we're just getting adjusted to that and trying to get a feel of how the boats are coming in the span of the transients and how long they plan on staying with us, and then kind of getting the habits of what they're doing, how much they're using the dock, how often they're using the office and the facilities as well. So we're monitoring and marking and reporting and recording all of that as well. We have 2 boats in the field right now that are currently delinquent. We're working on one, and then one we've had for a while. We've had to turn away 3 boats since the office is open due to the mast being too high. They couldn't come in under the bridge. So that's an issue as well, which I hopefully will be relieved if we can get the mooring field on the other side. That'll alleviate that. Other than that, the pump out boat, we've started the pump out mandatory is in effect with the odd evens and then the makeup days on Friday. We are having people request more than 1 week, one time a week pump out, so that's good that everybody's getting on board with making sure that the tanks are emptied. We're getting a lot of people coming in with composting heads as well, so we're starting to work with that and trying to get the ins and outs of composting heads. It's my understanding that there is still a waste that needs to be discarded out of composting heads, and the law states that they had to be discarded in a Coast Guard approved facility. So I'm working on seeing if we can acquire something as far as a Coast Guard approved facility of discarding their waste. Something that we have to look into. Let's see, the pump out boat, we've lost the fuel gauge on it. Apparently it's stuck at fuel, so we've got to get that repaired. We've had an incident this week where we ran out of fuel in the field and had to resort to getting it to land to get it back at fuel. So we resorted to getting that fixed. And we also lost the throttle cable, I think I reported as well. We've got that repaired and it's running fine as far as the pump out boat goes. We've been checking into as everybody knows, we're running short on our stay at Matanzas with where we can dock the boat. I have tried and failed I have tried a couple businesses and failed at getting a spot reserved for the pump out boat. We've reached out to Lee County to see if they have any facilities available for us, and I think Chelsea has more about what Lee County is working on.
So Austin had a great idea originally to see if we could dock at Bowditch. Reaching out to the Parks and Rec director with Lee County, discouraged docking at Bowditch, but offered the Maritime on San Carlos Island, their land over there where we take our boat in and out. He said that there's some potential dockage over there and that he would work up an agreement, understanding that this is temporary until we can get a permanent solution. So we're working internally on that agreement with Lee County staff, and then of course that agreement will have to go to town council for approval. I did request I believe through May 1st. But we have to vacate Matanzas as of December 31st. Austin has been trying very, very diligently to ask other local marinas if they offered any dockage, and if so, the rates, and everybody that we've spoken with thus far has turned us down. That's an option, but ideally we'd like to rent those out. So, but we've got worst case scenario, we could pull the boat out daily, or we could put it on a ball, just dinghy back and forth, but ideally we would like to dock it. So that's our interim solution until we can find a more permanent solution. I believe Austin's starting to work on some pricing and stuff for maybe a boat lift there at Virginia. Other town-owned properties, if any, that we have that abut the waterways. So
We checked Moss Marina.
Yeah, we've checked Moss Marine, and we're still waiting on an answer. I've checked twice now with them, and they said they've got to talk. And originally it was a no, but I'm trying to be pretty persistent with it, so I'm just seeing it. Yeah, I just.
Can you get around to John Richard's shipwreck behind there?
Yeah,
Have you contacted John?
We have reached out to Richard as well, so we'll be. I'll be reporting all my findings here pretty soon as I get a report to put together there for that. But let's see, and yes, I have reached out about the Virginia lot, so I do have quotes out with different companies as well to get a price for how much a lift would be at that area. So far, I think only 2 companies will quote out of 6 because a lot of the companies no longer do business on Fort Myers Beach. But let's see, I think that's about the docket, right? So other than that, we resumed all of our dive operations now. We did hire Matthew Ball, who is he's an open water certified. So we've been conducting inspections and cleanings of the ball starting the beginning of this month of the systems. We've replaced 1 system so far, and then we've untangled 2 vessels that their pennant lines have been tied up on. And then we have started the cycle of monthly inspections and monthly cleanings of the systems as well. Oh yeah, Pat is. I think I did report that last time. We are getting our new hire, Patrick Zamorano. He's going to be certified at the end of the month, so we'll have another certified diver at our.
How many do we have now?
We have, I believe, a total on staff. We have 2 in the maritime as of today, and then on the beach crew, I have 4 total as backup as well. So if need be, we can pull from other departments who are certified in doing what we're doing.
So you'll have 7?
7 total, yeah. Let's see. Moving on, the maintenance, usually we started conducting on Wednesdays. So that's when typically we go out and we do all the pennant cleaning and then all the fine tuning of the field. If there's any complaints or anything, usually the middle of the week is when all the complaints and everything's are resolved. The office is seeing about 7 to 10 patrons a day coming in. We're getting traffic coming in around 8, around later 8, earlier 9 o'clock is when we start typically seeing patrons start utilizing the office facilities. We start getting calls around 8 o'clock a.m. is when our calls start coming in. And then after hours as well, we're starting to log them all various hours of the night due to the boaters coming in at different hours. So we are responding to the messages at 7, and we start making our calls back at 8 a.m. to reply to anybody checking in or any reservations, requests that come in, or anybody that's left a message as well. We have acquired a drone. I don't think that I've mentioned this yet. The town's acquired a drone. We have 2 pilots on staff, myself being one of them. So we're capable of doing aerial visuals of the field now. Thus far, we've tracked 2 oil spills that we found while doing inspections of the field by air, and we've turned them over to the Coast Guard. So it's been a resource that we've been utilizing on, and it's really been paying off in what we've been finding with it. Other than that, I think that's about it on the mooring field report. Is there any questions?
I have a couple. Just a comment. Your comment about the drone picture. If anybody gets the news press, there's a gorgeous picture of the mooring field this morning at sunset, I think, or sunrise. It's this beautiful pink-orange sky with It's from the bridge,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's beautiful, so,
Andrew West took them
Yeah,
a
it's
couple
gorgeous.
days ago. I think it was morning. It was
yeah,
gorgeous.
it was beautiful. I wanted to circle back to the Virginia property because where do we stand with that? Are we able to utilize that for a dock?
Council just approved that staff could start looking at it and seeing
Okay.
whether it was advisable for use. The town attorney was saying might not be, so
Right.
temper our enthusiasm.
Because I was at that meeting a couple weeks ago, and that kind of was the sense that I got.
But he was going to explore further.
Okay,
He will be here today for the LPA this afternoon, and I'll follow up. But he did, just so you all are aware, when we had originally reviewed Virginia for a potential location for the mooring field offices, because it is right-of-way and it is not a parcel, strapped parcel, we had to go back and look at the plat book and the dedication of said rights-of-way. And I believe, help me, but the right-of-way is utilized for parking access. So, but I will be following up with him today on that discussion that we had a couple months ago, just to follow up to make sure that if this is available for the boat parking.
Back to Virginia for a sec. Where do we empty the pump out boat right now?
Yeah, we discharge it. Diversified lets us use their sanitation equipment there for the pump out. The town has put in I would say a heavier duty lock because of the usage of it at there. So they let us utilize and then dump on their,
They charge us for that?
no, they don't.
They don't. I was wondering if we kept it at Virginia, is there water and sewer available on that parcel?
I don't think so.
We'd have to put in the connections.
It's available on the street
Yes,
probably,
yes.
but, okay.
To dovetail real quick, if there's any other questions about Virginia. So one of the things that we're continually monitoring, and I know that's been of a concern with, back up, Chelsea Riley, Public Works Director, I don't think I addressed myself. This committee has had some concerns of the staffing and of the hours of the office. One of the things that we've had the opportunity over the last months almost, is to assess the usage and who's coming in at what times. So I believe next month, for the month of December, we're going to push it back 1 hour. So instead of 7 to noon, it would be 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And of course, we're going to continue to monitor that. If January flex more, we're willing to do that. I am hoping to have a conversation with the town manager regarding some staffing. Having 1 full-time and 2 part-time staff, especially around holidays, where like to go home and spend time with their families and they want to take some time off. Putting a burden on myself and Randy where we have to flex down there, even with Austin and his hours, trying to minimize and stick to the 40 hours for himself. Part-timers having to be at 30, so I would like to hire a seasonal part-time staff just through Easter. So that's something I'm going to be discussing with the town manager, because that will help with influx of people coming in. If there's any errors or any issues in the field, I can quickly go and address them and not have to worry about coverage of the office. So that's in our future. And like I said, the hours, we have it in-house. We can easily address the hours, flex the hours as need be. Of course, given notice to the patrons. So we are, unfortunately, I've had a field day with Comcast and CenturyLink trying to get those fobs put in. I was told yesterday I had to go away from Comcast completely because I just wasn't getting a response. CenturyLink was supposed to be delivered and installed yesterday. Another delay. So I'm literally just waiting on CenturyLink to install a static IP so we can get the fob system up and running. We have the fobs. got them all labeled. We've got everything ready to go live. It's just waiting on the internet itself. So I'm hoping the end of the month, but we all know how it is dealing with utility companies. Friends?
Anything further with other questions?
The council approved for staff to apply for the Clean Vessel Act grant. We have submitted that grant application. Just actually got notice that the grant manager for DEP no longer, my contact that I've had there for years, is she left. So we just got notice that they've had some staffing transitions with DEP for this grant, but hoping I've done it in the past. It's a pretty seamless grant application, so hoping to hear back soon. Forward with the new procurement and trade of our existing pump out boat for a new one.
I have a question about that. Going back to the question or the idea about the compost, must be placed in a Coast Guard approved container. Is that correct, Austin?
Yes, sir.
Can any of that grant money be used to procure the proper for composting toilets? Because I can assure you, you're going to see more and more of that in the future on small boats.
That's something we'll look into. We can talk to Pump Out USA, who's the vendor.
I would really encourage us to do that. I have some experience with those things, and I think you'll find that a lot of people are going to go that way rather than bring around their waste. And
We're starting to see that a lot more. People are switching over.
I know that at Marathon, not many years ago, but a few years back, they had a similar situation, and when you got with your composting material, they had a place for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a designated.
Yeah.
thing. So I was just wondering if maybe that money could be
We'll look into it. Absolutely.
something like that.
Couple more things before we jump on to expansion. I did hand out to you prior to the meeting starting is the occupancy for October. This is very raw data. I literally just pulled this out of DACWA 10 minutes before your meeting started. So as you can see, and I can send this via Excel. I know Mr. Lawwell had requested it, but the average occupancy for the month of October was 43, and we foresee that number to continually increase. Lastly, I have unaudited numbers. Just revenue-wise, we generated roughly $15,000 of revenue last month for the mooring field. So that's an uptick in previous
Is that
years.
September?
That is October.
I'm sorry, yes, October, of course.
Of course, those are unaudited numbers. But it's about $15,000 in revenue.
Questions? Move on to expansion. Any updates?
So, first and foremost, congratulations. We did receive the finally FDEP approved merged land lease from the state. So it is officially ours. We have already touched base with the Sheriff's Office and Lee County Department of Natural Resources. I believe there's a couple, Austin can confirm, a couple derelict vessels or sunk vessels out there. We don't want to inherit those, and I know that there is the derelict vessel removal process that the sheriff is doing for, I know the one that sunk with the mast sticking out. Is there another one out there?
It's an investigation now. And then there's a couple derelict vessels, and then I believe there's one at risk as well.
So we have reached out to them to find out when those are going to be removed. Again, we don't want to inherit those problems. But next steps, and I know I touched on this last go around, we did get notice of award for the Fdep grant, which we applied for the construction funds of the expansion. I'm waiting on that agreement from them. before we can do any work. So I'm hoping I'll have that by the end of the calendar year. Of course, it would not be my intent to do work during season. I don't like doing projects during season. There's enough on our plates as is, and the influx of people, it's difficult to maneuver around. So next steps would be to get the grant agreement executed, that approved, and then we would put it out to bid and go through the bid process, really get full bidders, an award, go through with the construction, and be up and running. Right now, you're talking about right now? We have not. We have not.
Well, what we've done is reached out to Lee County Sheriff's Department to have them get together kind of a plan of what needs to happen to notify these vessels that they need to vacate that area. And then for the future, we are reaching out and getting quotes to get signage put up in that area, notifying people that this is under the town's control now, or jurisdiction, I should say.
Are we liable?
Okay.
Are we liable for them? in time?
I'd have to ask the town attorney.
Or maybe they do register, we could get whatever, even if we're not charging, if we're gonna be exposed.
Absolutely.
Upland service provider update, is there any further? We've sort of had kind of an update already. Is there anything else?
We had tasked coastal engineering consultants last fiscal year to assess a handful of properties, and we, I've touched base with them to see where they are with their review and assessment. Hopefully, again, if you are out and about and you see any properties that abut the water, let me know, please. You know, we're trying to find anything and everything that we can and review, but as you know, it's a seller's market right now, not a buyer's market. So you could give us a little bit of insight on it right now. Easily. We're trying to review the existing sites and then any potential future sites, hoping to take that, bring an update to you all from coastal engineering, and then hopefully take that presentation or update to town council at a future M&P session. I know it's on council's list.
Anything else? Strategic plan review, communication plan. Well, the harbor management plan isn't in this, but I think it could be, we could start to look at that too. I hope everybody got their paper copies of the plans. And took a look at them.
Question about the date. I think I might have two here. February 2021 and then one that's January 2021. Are they the same? The same document?
Well,
Oh, as amended and
it was
then as
amended
adopted.
when they
Okay.
did the land lease, which is this first page.
Right.
That's the February 2021 amendment, this
So
first page,
the,
right?
The document attached to Resolution 2102 is the adopted, approved, most up-to-date harbor management plan. Anything you've had prior to that, throw it out. 2102 is the current harbor management plan, which we abide by. What we're held to with regards to FDEP and our rules and regulations.
Right.
This would have been in your packet, 2102. You can have mine if you'd like.
And that's what the amended February 2021 is on the front page of
Good, it's
this.
got all the appendixes.
So the adoption, the amendment is this page. I don't think there was anything else done in here.
Oh, there was.
was?
There was. We had to include the expansion.
In this, inside this too?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
correct.
Were there any changes in the committee's duties or responsibilities?
That's not part of this document. Your duties and responsibilities as a committee comes from the town council, and that was a previous, resolution. That is resolution 1806. And
Originally, they were in the document. Was that removed in 19?
that was removed some time ago.
Now, there is a mention of it in the management plan is, the one mention of our committee in the management plan is any kind of dispute comes to us. And that's still in here.
Needs to be reviewed because direction from town council of this committee's duties and responsibilities has changed. So that is one,
Copy of that?
was provided in the packet.
Yes,
You want
it's
this
in the
one?
packet.
In this packet?
Yes.
Resolution 1806.
Right, thanks.
Yep, and that has all of the committees, if you care to read through that. But if you look at that, you guys are letter A, for Anchorage Advisory Committee. So yes, Ted, this committee's back in the day, this committee had a lot more to do with finances and review of budget and things like that. With this update, 2018, that has been removed. So you can read the paragraph and see what this committee's tasks are.
And that was done by the council, not anything we reviewed.
Correct.
I saw it, because I looked
Want
at
it? You want mine?
No, it's okay.
Sure.
I've got it, I think.
I'll give it to you.
It's in here somewhere, because I,
Yeah.
Page is that?
Ordinance 1806.
It's in a separate.
thanks,
It says 1806 here at the top.
yeah.
That out in the harbor. And all mention of it. About that there's just, and there's no mention anywhere. It's supposed to be,
Okay. So, I know you all were given this. There is most definitely operational issues that we have seen over the last year or so, that in this harbor management plan that have to be addressed. And we have proposed some of those, which as we go through this document, Austin or myself can mention or bring up. Top of my head is a perfect example is we don't charge a late fee until 5 days out after their expired contract ends. Makes absolutely no sense. If they're just like at a hotel, last day of your checkout is the last day of your checkout. We're not going to give you 5 free days until we start charging a $5 a day late fee. That's unreasonable. So that's one perfect example of something that needs to be updated. That $5 a day late fee or whatever the fee is should be addressed as soon as the contract is expired. Kathy, how would you like to go through this?
well, I was unclear as to well, because we don't know those kind of management issues. So I don't know how to address those. We need to have a list of that, I guess.
So let me ask the committee this. Would you prefer that staff take a swing at updating it and bring it to your review with showing the edits and updates that are made?
I would like to have a list of what you're, at least a list of what you're wanting to update
Okay.
from your perspective, because we don't know that.
Okay.
I wasn't exactly sure as far as, because I was looking at it, okay, we need to update it because we no longer have a service provider.
Agreed.
However, I don't think we should take that out. if you look at completely, if you look at, let's see if I can find my notes, the wording of it in number 2 rules on page 4 and 5 says we may contract with something. And I don't think we should take that out.
I don't disagree.
There is one place on the first page of it, which is page 4, I guess, where it says we will. Well, we should change that language to we might.
Agreed.
Because who knows what'll happen down the road. You know, we don't now, but we might at another time.
Agreed.
So that was the only thing I was looking at, because I didn't know about the other things. But it would be very good for you to maybe, I don't know how you want to do it, if you just want to do a list or you want to go through and,
Either way, it'll have to be edited itself as a document, because then town council will have to, the blessing of this committee, and the review of this committee, it'll have to go to town council for their approval and adoption, and then it has to go to Fdep for their approval. And then, once they approve it, then it's formally the most updated version. So there's a process to be done.
I would suggest let Chelsea and Austin edit this document in like an edit mode and send it to us to look at, and we can discuss it at our next meeting. Make any fine tuning that we think should be there. And then they can take that to the town council.
If you, as individual committee members, have an idea that maybe you've experienced elsewhere or in your travels, hey, the town should incorporate whatever it may be, send us an email, and that's something we can look at. And again, in editing mode, it'll show that what's been tracked. I am not a grammar person. I'm gonna leave that up to you, Kathy. I'll let you critique it. But I have no problem with us taking a stab at it and bringing it back. I just ask that you give us a little bit of time. We're ramping up with season, and maybe that's something in January. Have that opportunity. Bring
I
it
was
back
going
to
to ask, is there a timeline to have that?
We set our own timeline. Ultimately, for instance, we have Bender as the one delinquent. He's been accruing $5 a day late fee, but we do have another one that's delinquent. We had to wait the 5 days to start charging them the $5 a day late fee. So, I mean, there is a cost associated to it, but we'll get to it as fast as we can.
I suspect that language probably came from maybe like land, like apartment things, because that's usually the way they do it, is they give you a $5-day grace to pay your rent.
Yeah.
I am assuming it probably came from that, but, you know, this is a different situation, so. I agree. Do we need to have a motion for that, or just
As long as the committee is
think we
of
agree.
consensus.
Yeah,
Nodding
I think
heads.
that's better, because we
I
aren't
agree.
into the management and the practical, and that's kind of what we're talking about, is some of the practical things that happen with management.
The urgency is only that this exists until it gets updated, as it is.
Yeah.
I will tell you, we have had some comments about the deposit. I'm only staying here a month. Why are you charging me essentially 2 months worth? Because the deposit is 1 month's worth of rent. I will also tell you that deposit has saved us at least 3 times, where we couldn't get a hold of somebody for a couple weeks because they are up in Alaska or somewhere out west, and that was our safety net. So it has its pros and cons.
Cons is you're tying up their whole credit thing.
Yes.
But what everybody else gets a deposit too.
We're pretty, Austin and his staff are pretty good at getting, hey, you're checking out today, all right? Call me as soon as you've checked out. We'll issue the refund of the deposit.
So we charge a deposit if they do it for a month, but not if they do it weekly.
If their time, month or more, so that was one cleanup that staff had to do, was somebody would come in, hey, I'm gonna book 2 weeks, and then I'm gonna come re-up for another week, and then I'm gonna re-up for 2 weeks to avoid that month deposit. Well, your stay in total has been over a month. You're required to remit a deposit.
It's kind of
At the-
after the fact
At the
then.
month
Okay.
rate,
Okay.
322.92 or whatever it may be.
So you don't give the month rate until you actually get the deposit, until they convert over, then retroactively give them the month rate.
Right, I think that's good to go that direction. And then we'll, I don't think it's, well, we need to discuss if we want to meet in January in any, or I mean, in December anyway, but I think January would be a more reasonable time to have this, start looking at it. Give you some time to come up with.
That would be great.
Strategic plan, the whole animal in itself, because I went through that. We have major things to do with it. You know, obviously the dates need to be addressed, and also, I mean, just right off the top, the provider is no longer there. I mean, the town is the provider now. So that was just kind of right off the top. And I don't know how we want to attack this. I kind of went through all of it and made a bunch of notes, because almost every single one we need to have updates for, or say, do we want to keep doing this or whatever. How would we like to attack this? I kind of thought maybe we would do one section each meeting. Just kind of go down the 4, 5, 6 things and say about it. Or, I mean, because I think there's a lot of stuff to do in this in general. What do other people feel?
Should we address the short-term goals first?
Can?
Or just whatever category is most pertinent?
If you want to take the time, we can run through it real quick and we can just give you a yes, no, working on it, or in purgatory update if you want to do.
Okay.
I didn't know if we wanted to spend the time with the whole document today, or,
Well,
I mean,
I was wondering if we could just
well,
begin
let's
the, begin the
begin
process and see how it's
then
going.
see how far we get.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. Number 1, customer service, or customer experience, I'm sorry. And number 1 under that, I mean, I think number 1 is we're working on that. Continuous on that. Number 2, where do we stand for the tracking? It sounds like we've already started doing that, tracking returning customers, though.
So with DACWA, if it keeps a customer profile, so I can go back and see if they were here a year ago. So that's already in place through
Okay,
DACWA.
so that's what I
So
wondered
that's
that
accomplished
DACWA was.
for all intents
sir.
and purposes.
Okay,
sir.
so that's, would we say that that's done then?
Yes.
Okay, so
We could remove that from the list.
then we would take that completely out.
Yes, ma'am.
The first one is we're continuing, yes, continue, okay. Well, number 1, because we are working on that, I guess,
We'll continuous.
continue. We haven't accomplished that yet. The hours, are we increasing the hours? Are we going to do that?
Once the fobs are in place, we have full control of access. We can offer access. I'd have to speak to Matanzas to confirm that they agree with the hours, but the latest time that we can go to is 10 p.m. because that's how late base is here, the parking enforcement. So, and
Until the fobs.
well, even with the fobs,
Okay.
I'd like for there to be a sweep to make sure nobody's hanging out in there, for security purposes.
But we're really not going to do that then. It's not really feasible that we're going to increase the hours.
Correct.
Oh,
Well, technically, we could be increasing them from what they're currently right now, so
is it increasing them though from what we had when Matanzas had it?
No.
Okay. It's not really feasible to do it.
don't have staff here past 10 p.m.
And we don't, security-wise, we don't want to.
We could pay it. We would have to pay for either.
Oh, I guess I'm questioning that because if we aren't going to be able to do it, then we should take that out.
Right.
Does everybody agree with that? I mean, we wanted to be able to do that because a lot of the patrons would like to have access. But it appears security-wise it's not feasible. So we should just take it out.
Okay.
The max is 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
So right now,
we open?
yes. as of right now. And again, it's still Matanzas's property. They're still the landlord. I still have to get approval of those hours by Matanzas.
Even if we would have our own facility, say we would build our own facility somewhere, you would still say that it's not feasible security-wise to have it open 24 hours?
Correct. Lease does a sweep of this building,
Yeah.
of all of our town properties before they leave.
So if we're really not ever going to be able to do it, I think we should take it out of the document. I mean, it doesn't make sense to increase them if we're never going to be able to. What do people think about that? Or do we want to just leave it there? I mean,
We can leave it because we may have to be flexible, we may have to change at some point. We're never gonna go 24 hours, it doesn't sound like.
We
Unless
can
we have-
reevaluate periodically.
okay,
someday.
we can just,
Add it back on later, or you can keep it on, or it's
It is possible at some point we'd have cameras or something that would, or some way to monitor, but
Are we going for 24 hours, or are we going to just for an increase in hours?
well, people wanted to be able to, I mean, some of the customers had, in past, have expressed that they would like to have, well, I remember some people coming in saying they would go downtown and have dinner and drinks and stuff, and come back at midnight, 1 o'clock, and want to use the restroom. And they couldn't.
There's I mean, the porta potty is always available. I hate to say that, but yeah,
I know.
it is always available.
No, I understand. That wasn't available at the time, and that's true.
Okay.
No. But, I mean, I understand our constraints. I'm just, let's just say not feasible at this time and just leave it there, I guess. Ice machine is done, isn't it?
We don't actually have an
We don't
ice
have a
machine
machine.
there, but we have the ice machine here, which
Making ice available to the
Ice
patrons.
is available.
How do they get it?
Through the office, we have a deep freeze in the office, yeah. We have
It's
commer-
available to patrons.
Yes,
So it's done.
$3 a bag.
yes.
Number 6 and 7, we really, do we have a really good process for tracking feedback? I mean, we've had customer cards.
But we have the customer cards, and then also through DACWA, they have,
DACWA has.
people can comment through that, and then I think it's Marina Go is the other website that is partnered with DACWA that people can go give feedback. They can give feedback on the town website. They can send us emails. There's the comment card in the office.
We have staff that actually goes through the blogs and goes to all the cruisers, like pages. And we're trying to actually find the sources of review for our field so we can start reporting on what we're getting reviewed as. And then under I don't know what they're referred to as, but I guess websites or blogs or whatever, rating systems like Captain's apps and stuff like that, where there's communities that are formed digitally that do rate certain marinas and stuff like that, that we do monitor. And we're trying to seek out and find those right now.
But at this time, we do have a process, it sounds like,
Yes.
with the DACWA and Marina Go and the card.
We're
So,
done.
so we're done with that.
Yes, sir.
And the other one, the next one is continuous, because that's providing training, and I'm assuming we're continuing to do that. Okay, number 2, growth and capacity. Make recommendation for future services we've already sort of done that, haven't we?
We're
done with
in-house.
that? Okay. And we've moved forward with the plans to expand the mooring field, so we're done with that too. Number 3,
We could tweak number 2 to say construct expansion, landing mooring field, because that's really the next steps. I can update that and just
move
put
forward with construction.
construction.
and implement.
Because we've already been approved.
Yeah,
for
we've,
expansion.
I'll
yeah,
update that,
move forward with construction.
leave that on.
Okay, and so edit this one, okay. Work to expand the number of restrooms and shower facilities, and we're still working on that. That's ongoing, continue. We're also working on continuing the dinghy dock, because we're still working on that. Identify an outdoor space.
Hopefully, once Bayside Park is constructed, that'll be a great outdoor space.
So we're continuing on
Not
that.
dissimilar. or overhang and shade
It'll have a
area.
stage, it'll have shade sails, it'll have seat walls, it'll have grass, it'll have a rain garden. Fortunately, it won't have a gumbo limbo, but we're finding a spot for one of those.
It'll have a drinking fountain.
It'll have a drinking fountain, yes. We just got those in the other day.
All right. Number 6,
So are we calling that done?
that's continuing, sort of,
Continuing,
because because I think
Because
we're
we have-
continuing.
That's not in
still.
place yet,
It's not really in
obviously.
place. 6, expansion planning, we've pretty much done that, I think.
yeah.
That's done.
Look at you guys.
Yeah, here we go. We're going through this
Save on
faster than I
paper next
thought.
time.
Number 7, do we still want to do a ship store? Are we going to have like a few items in the office, or?
That's the plan, but I need to go and make sure and do some homework unless somebody here wants to assist. And making sure if there's a business license required, if so, what does that entail? I've got to do a little bit of homework on that end. If anybody help, I'd love the help.
But one of the things when I went through the harbor management plan, it specifically talks about all boats should have a sock in the bilge. So it would be nice, I think, if we could, in fact, have a small ship store where that kind of a thing was available, because that is required in the plan. If a guy walks in there, the nearest marine store now is probably Marine Surplus, which is
2 trolley rides.
2 trolley rides down the way. But I mean, that kind of a thing would be really convenient, I
So
think.
just so you understand from our perspective is it's not the town's intent or not staff's intent to compete with the private market
Right.
that's out there, but to provide a convenience factor for the patrons of the field. So that is a perfect example, Mike, of something that we could offer that maybe we're not competing with another local market per se.
Or if you had space, you could just contract somebody to do it and let them deal with it all. They'll bring in T-shirts, whatever, and nice things, and you don't have any deal with it. You just contract the space out and
Or is there somebody on
make it
Main
very
Street?
feasible for them, like just a % of their.
Is there somebody on
profit,
Main
so-
Street that carries those items of the marinas?
We'll keep this on and
Yeah,
we'll keep looking
continue
into
to,
it.
Right.
yeah.
I mean, if Moss Marine or somebody in walking distance carries that,
Right.
we can just have a recommendation.
Just have something in the literature we give them that here are some resources for you if you should need something, which I'm sure they have a small ship store.
Yeah, okay, so we'll keep that. The indoor congregation space, we don't really have that or have room for that, but that should probably stay there.
We can keep that.
When we get our own space somewhere, it would be nice to have that. I mean, it isn't feasible at the moment, but increase occupancy, ongoing. And again, these have provider by them, but now what would we put in there? Town?
So now this is
Or provider, I mean, we are the provider.
So this is a perfect example of having a goal but not having a measurable goal. So is our occupancy, get our average occupancy 50 a month? I personally would like it to be a smart goal, I don't know, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic. So that's something you can think about. We'll keep it on, but I would definitely like some type of number, that way we could measure. If it's average, or if it's average per month or average per year, or whatever it may be, I'd like to put some number to it.
Set a goal based on our size of our new mooring field.
Absolutely.
So many balls, and say, hey, we want to have 85% of those balls occupied.
Absolutely. That's what I'm looking for from this committee.
We have the back data to say where we are now.
Oh, you got October. I just gave you October.
Well, we have all the old ones, obviously, of where we were, but we've got a gap in there.
Yeah, I mean, we could do Aqua is really the starting point that I would use for your time.
Or somebody's gonna work that up, or
I'll do it just for you, Ted.
is there any chance that anyone else could review it, other than the,
I'll work on it. I'll try to get you all the average occupancy since we've had DACA in place.
And are we interested, how many are like yearly, long-term? How many are seasonal, keep returning, and look at those as markers to shoot for having good returning? How many long-terms do we want to have that are yearly? And then how many transients, where we're just open for business? Transients. Transients need that too. We should be cognizant of all three of those.
And that's something to keep in mind. I love where you're going, because that's where we're looking for really direction long-term from you all. Short-term, I'd love to just get a number. Okay, this is the average, but really, what's the direction this field wants to go in the future? This is a conversation Austin and I have almost weekly, is we want this to be 90% transient or 100% transient, and we have the opportunity for liveaboards, but is that what goal of the town is to have people living, 10 vessels, 10 people living on their vessels in the back bay? So just brainstorm that as you're reviewing this plan, the strategic action plan. What's the long-term goal?
So maybe we would, when you get the data, the current data which we have, we could come up with some, as Doug says, some sort of a percentage now, then have a sort of subcategories eventually as we refine that to where we can see transient, liveaboard, long-term, that would be good information to have.
Okay. And that's something, we'll keep in mind with DACA, if there's some tweaks that we can check a box, if transient, if liveaboard, if, whatever it may be. So that's
That way
Wet
you could
storage
follow the
long-term.
trend,
Right.
exactly.
see which way it's going.
Well, and we have the old data of numbers of boats, but within that, from before DACA, within that, we don't have those subcategories. The only way we can start to do is when we started DACA, because you can kind of see who's wet storage, who's transient.
No,
livable.
Austin's been,
Austin knows too, being out in the field, but
Can we set up some standard way we're gonna do it? And some sort of continuing report of that, because, we write a report here and write a report there, and there's no continuity. Could we start out ahead of time saying, this is what we want, this is how we're gonna get it, and then publish it on a regular basis?
that's what we want. That's what we want, Ted. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to achieve.
That's what I'm having to struggle with in the field right now, is more and more people want to start coming into the field and start utilizing it at longer times. So I kind of need to know where the direction of the field wants to go, because if we start establishing it as we're starting to do extended leases in here, then we're going to run out of space for people coming in and using the area as transient, and that goes as wet storage as well. So keep that in mind. Do we want wet storage in the field, or do we want to utilize it as a transient place to bring in more people to visit the town, other than storing boats here?
A lot of them have like a minimal transient, so you can't go below, let's say, 10-15%. So if somebody wants to come in and be seasonal or long-term, they can't, but they will be transient until something vacates, and then they can take that spot. Because that's what happened to me where I was. I wanted to be yearly, but I had to be like transient at this place. Finally, when the spot opened, I said, I'm in. I want a yearly deal. I don't have to be having to move sometimes.
Exactly.
And that's what we're looking for from this committee.
Those are
is
just
what
numbers
exactly
you got to
do we
come
want.
up with, what you're comfortable with. But you should have a minimum of transient. You have to have that. You never go below that.
Maybe you could make the recommendations for was the data they're based.
Well, it's not only that, it's the pros and cons and utilizing those, of having certain kind of boaters come into the area. The things that we experience, with people that live here, that stay here on a year-round basis versus the people who just come in at short amounts of time. There are pros and cons with all of them, but it comes into what's best for the town and what's best for what we want to do with the field itself. And I think that's what I'm looking for is from this committee is, where do you want me to take this field?
It'll be
We
a
need the
balance.
data to know
we need
where we
data
are
first
before we
see
know where to
we
go.
are, yeah. Yeah, we need to
Would
see
you
what
say
we
that
have.
most of our problems in the field, as far as like derelict type vessels and people that don't pay, that comes from storage boats or the year-round tenants, or a combination of both?
It's going to be, the longer a vessel is here, the more issues that we're going to run into. It's basically what I'm starting to see, and and that goes down to the people that stay in the field for extended amounts of time. The people that's been here the longest seem to have the most problems with the way things are ran or with their vessels, or it might be. It just seems more of the problems stem from the longer the people are here versus the people are here from a few months or in or out, and we minimal hear, problems or issues about it. Not only that, but the rate of the growth of the boat and the deterioration of vessels here is a lot greater or a lot more than it would be down in the Keys or anything else like that. So with what we have here, just to reinforce what I'm saying, is the longer that a vessel stays here, the more issues that it's going to have here.
Seasonal?
Even seasonal.
And especially since they're not allowed to scrape, at the position, they gotta take a whole special trip just to, clean the bottom periodically.
And your issues, and like I'm saying, it's just your issues start stacking up the longer you're here.
Okay, let's move on here. Assess need for staff increases in future initiatives where that's kind of ongoing,
Continuous.
obviously. So we've discussed that today. The parking spaces, I'm not sure, I'm wondering if that should even be here, because people can get parking spaces from the town. They're not really mooring field parking spaces.
Yeah, we issue mooring field parking
We
permits.
do. We're done with that.
Well, this could stay on
Okay.
here. Typically, when somebody is visiting this mooring field, they're coming by boat. They're not bringing their car. The handful of parking passes that we're issuing are people who have been here for so long, have made this their home, and the 10 liveaboards. So, and the patrons purchase a parking permit, $25 parking permit, but it's contingent on their stay in the field. So if they pay month to month, paying $25 a month for that parking permit. If they have a contract for 6 months, they're paying $25 for the 6 months. So I know that other mooring fields and marinas, they have a higher rate for their mooring users to discourage, per se. Or on the opposite side, they may say, hey, we're going to increase our rates if you have a car, and it's inclusive as part of your package now. So there's homework that could be done with this, so I'd
Just leave it then.
be hesitant to take it off.
On that note, is the underbridge parking, is that gonna be closed, those sections, is that gonna be closed for the whole Margaritaville construction, or is that gonna be open? Is that a staging area for construction stuff, or what's
That's
going on?
the town's contractor is doing work underneath the bridge right now. They have one lot for staging,
Yeah.
but they're
A
tearing
little
up.
section.
They're putting in, like in lot 4 right now, they're putting in a huge storm drain. I mean, they're physically doing improvements that I'm hoping will be done sooner than later.
Okay, that won't be for
no,
yearly,
no,
that's just temporary.
Yeah,
And
that's the town's
because that's a bunch
contractor.
of spaces right there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, we'll leave that. I guess I've never quite understood this adding an Anchorage area thing.
That came from this committee a couple
I
years
know,
ago.
but I don't understand, I
I
mean,
think everything outside of our field is an Anchorage area.
But
No one's allowed
under
to
law, I
anchor.
don't believe we can add that.
we don't,
No,
we
no one's
don't,
allowed
We don't have
until we have,
jurisdiction
like,
over that kind of thing.
theoretically, this new land lease that we have, that we just got this area, we could designate that as a town Anchorage area, and not put in improvements.
We're not going to.
But we're not going to. So I'm not really sure, to me, I don't really understand why this is in there. I'm not
Oh.
sure what it was for.
On the light list, was that maybe on the light list, so we become a designated Anchorage? Or
Well,
is that
that's
separate?
right
That's
underneath.
That's
different
different.
place,
So
yeah.
it's a completely different thing. I mean, to me, I've never really understood why that was here.
Okay, let's remove it.
It was there before we were gonna add a new area for,
And maybe, but I think we should just, it
agreed.
needs to be
Right.
gone.
That's a can of worms. we don't need.
Yeah. Okay, so where do we stand on the federal Anchorage area?
Purgatory.
Ongoing.
Be
Ongoing
honest.
purgatory.
I was
Between heaven
focused
and
on-
hell, would that be where it is?
I was focused on the
Did we
expansion, I'm
decide whether we
sorry.
preferred that or not?
Pardon?
We decide whether we prefer to be a federal Anchorage area?
That's the, I need
Problem
the,
is, if we are, lights off. That may be a problem too.
let me do some homework into it. I honestly haven't, we haven't touched it. We've been focusing on the expansion, so, and trying to take this stuff in-house, so.
The federal Anchorage area?
I think we should be at federal Anchorage, and two, we then should have better lighting on our markers. That's crazy having to have your anchor light on if you're in a Anchorage area for 2 months.
Okay, we have gone through two things. It's 10 o'clock. Do we want to keep going?
How much is left?
There are three sections.
3 seconds.
We want to do another section and see where we stand. What we have left today is member items, and I know one of the items is we need to talk about Cruisers Appreciation Day. So we can do this, finish it next meeting.
Finish it next meeting.
Okay. Done two sections, we'll finish this next meeting.
Okay, we'll work on updating the sections that we just went through today.
Great. And so, member items, I will start with Cruisers Appreciation Day. And also, just to update you, I did go before town council, their first meeting of November. And my report was the items that we talked about in here. We talked about the submerged land lease, the town had just become the upland service provider, continuing to search for upland service facility. And I urge that we continue to do that because we're going from 70 balls to 89 balls with our expansion, and we only have 2 restroom showers now. So we need to continue to work. And I did bring up the Virginia property, and we've already had an update from Exxon with that, looking into it. They are going to look into it. Talked about updating the harbor management and strategic plans. And I asked them if they were agreeable for us to do a Cruisers Appreciation Day, because we do have money for it, $2,500, I believe. Well, that's our budget for everything. And they said, fine. And I said, it's going to be different than we did it before. So we're going to do it. We need to think about when we want to do it, how we want to do it.
Easter is late. Easter's April 17th.
Okay.
So that's really late. The other thing is if we don't do it at Matanzas, have to do the permit thing again with
Yeah.
the town probably.
Countless a number of permits, so
good.
I will be more than happy to assist.
Good.
Well, we need to think about where we would
And where,
do it
yeah.
because it's all torn up. The original one was, Bob and I think, are the only ones left from that committee when we did the original, the first. And it was under the bridge, where the parking lot is.
Mitchell and Stark is supposed to be done in April. But, I mean, they're doing under the bridge part now. They'll be working on all of the side streets, like Second and Third. They finished First already, so they'll be working on Second and Third and Crescent. But
Would we be able to block off the
I can
section?
confirm, if Lot 4.
Where we did it was that little lot that's there right next to the water. That was the
Lot 4.
original plate. Is that lot 4?
That's what we
I
call
have
it.
a
And that's where
suggestion.
we originally did it.
Is Bayside Park will that be under construction at
Be
that
torn
time?
up. It'll be torn up.
Okay.
I have a suggestion. I don't know if it's feasible or not, but one of the things that we want to do is introduce more folks to the town properties of Bay Oaks and the Mound House. So I don't know if there's any feasible way that you could hold it at one of those 2 properties to get our people from the mooring field introduced. A lot of people come here and never visit.
Our problem is they come by dinghy.
Maybe we could do a trolley.
Well, maybe we could do a shuttle of some sort that they would come in to, and then we would shuttle them there.
Maybe we could do the Mound House and anchor one of the service boats out there and dinghies could
I mean, it sounds like,
Pretty small, but if you brought in people on one pontoon boat or so, I know they have a regular deal with somebody who does a tour for them with a very large pontoon boat.
Tie up to a pond, could maybe have it
Yeah,
on and
they-
off and tie up.
Right.
Roundhouse
It's just
would
an
be
idea
great.
to throw at you that these folks come here and a lot of times never visit the town's facilities.
The free tram does operate during peak season.
but it only goes,
It does go in front of Bay Oaks. That's
Bay
where
Oaks,
it does the
yes.
circle. It turns around.
yes.
We would just have
It would have to be there then. It doesn't go as far as the Mound House.
The other thing
so-
you could do is have Chelsea explore it with Allison, whether she would like to have, if she has a preference as to which of these facilities she would like to offer us, and
that's on the
he
table.
might have ideas about it as well.
But one of the complaints that we've had in the past about doing it in April was from our patrons because they were leaving.
Yeah, they were, and this is very late.
And so the last few that we had were the first week in April, and a lot of people were already gone. And we did that because that was Matanzas's choice, because they wanted to have their facility for their patrons, and certainly that, I understand that. So I would rather do it in, if we could, do it like the last weekend in March or something like that. I think we would have more people. But,
Let's start with this. Why don't
excuse me.
pick your preference, pick two or three dates. That way I can get with Patty and make sure there's no other conflicting special events during that time. Especially if it's in March, because I know Shrimp Fest is normally in March. St. Patrick's Day, so
Well, the last Saturday in March is the 26th. And I have, the first Saturday in April is the 2nd. I have something already that day. But you could do it without me. So, I think the 19th of March is too soon. So I think it looks really like the 26th or the 2nd. Does that
The
seem,
2nd of April.
yeah, does that seem reasonable?
Who will still be here?
Yeah. It sounds like it's iffy that, it sounds like things are gonna be torn up down there.
I'm actually.
That's something to look
I'm late
at.
to that conference call right now, but that's okay. I can find out from the contractor, again, we can do a preference, if lot 4 is the preference, and then Bay Oaks, and then Mound House, or,
I think that that's kind of the way I would go, is lot 4 would be, because we've got the dinghy dock right there.
what are you thinking, like food trucks?
Food
Or
truck or hamburger, hot dog, we do it. That was what we did the first one. We just had a grill, or, no, I think Matanzas actually did
I
it,
was gonna say,
but,
can we just cater it, have it
or
catered?
have it catered, or food
2,500
truck.
bucks.
Can we
Huh?
hire
You have
Dave?
2,500 bucks.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of money.
Can we hire Dave to cook, not restaurant stuff, but burgers and?
Well, we'll have to figure that out.
Well, if you want us, if food trucks is an idea, maybe somebody can pick that task up, call some food trucks around, see if they charge or what their menu prices are or what that
Yeah,
entails.
and we could just subsidize it, so,
As much as we can.
Yeah, and then the
You know,
rest
and
maybe they
it
gotta
may not
pay-
be totally free for people. It may
maybe
just
$2
be
or $5
Maybe
or,
the
but
cheap item will be
that's
free.
feasible.
a cheap item or a beverage
And they
or
can
a
update-
something or
upgrade if
other
they want.
that will, again, will maybe give tickets and, like we've done before. And we may not be able to give as many tickets as we did before.
Right.
But,
You may not
something
be able
like
to get
that.
6 or 8 tickets, maybe get 4 per boat. or
yeah,
2 per
something
boat.
like that.
Somebody want to take on the task of looking into food trucks?
I'll look at food truck.
Chat to a couple different vendors?
Yeah.
Well, I know all the microbreweries, they all got food trucks.
Well, and then we'll have to figure out, we do beer,
That'll be in the food truck.
the food truck, they do it. They have the license then to do it.
Yes.
You
They
don't
would,
have to
they
deal
would
with
have the
that.
license.
Try let somebody else handle it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was,
We'll
A
just
lot
give
of
them a
them-
coupon for $5 and then they pay the difference.
A lot of them are already booked for March.
a lot of
From another
festivals.
group that called about things. So you may want to try to center in on a date as soon as possible, because
Maybe it can't be a weekend, it has to be a Monday or,
Let's narrow it down to,
have to be a Saturday?
No, it
days.
doesn't have to be a Saturday. I mean, we could do
Could probably
something
get a
like
better deal,
just like
cheaper.
a drinks and light food, like a Monday afternoon at 5 or something. It doesn't have to be a
That's what I'm
Saturday.
thinking.
It
That'd be
has been
probably
before,
more
but
feasible and cheaper
we can
and-
change it. It doesn't have to be the same.
People typically get paid towards the end of the week, so if anything, I would suggest a Friday. Just
Or a
that-
Friday.
if
A
they have
Friday
some extra-
happy hour would be nice.
Yeah, a Friday happy hour kind of thing rather than a full lunch
in a full
thing.
day, yeah, afternoon,
So the Friday before that would be
The
like
25th.
the 25th
25th.
or April 1st. Yes,
You're kidding.
isn't it?
No.
Well,
Sorry,
that's a
sorry.
good idea, is to maybe do something like that. Then it's
Right.
not that big of an
I actually
event.
think, given our constraints because of the construction and what have you, all that's going on, simpler we can keep this for this year, the more successful
And there
we
there
will
is a
be.
possibility we'll have to cancel. There is a possibility.
Right.
That we'll have to
So
cancel.
that's why I don't want us to invest too much time, effort, and/or money into something which maybe never comes
I
to
wouldn't even
fruition.
cancel. I would just host it out of the Mooringfield office, even if it's small. Pop in.
I mean, COVID related to something, you know, if there's a chance we'd have to keep it short
Or
or
knock on wood.
distance or something, yeah.
But like something on March 25th from 4 to 6,
4 to 8.
or 4 to 7, 5 to
What
7.
sunset till?
Maybe,
or-
yeah,
Is
something
it
like that.
ti-
3 to 5.
3 to 5. Are you in bed by 6? What?
5 o'clock somewhere.
Well, I think that, I
Friday?
kind of like the Friday afternoon kind
Okay.
of deal
I do
rather
too.
than what
Do you
we've
wanna shoot
had.
for that date, Friday,
sounds
March
good.
25th?
And you're right, we could always transition into the office if,
Why don't we tentatively check on things for that date, and if,
the 25th.
but,
Well, if
yeah.
you're calling around to some food trucks and they say, no, I'm only available on Thursday, then that's something, you can just
Yeah.
report that back. I mean, worst case scenario, if we have a grill, I mean, we get some hot dogs and hamburger, or hot dog buns and hot dogs, and Austin put a chef hat on.
How do we do beer and drinks?
We wouldn't
I
at
can
that
do
point.
that too. I've done that tons of times.
Yeah, we wouldn't
All right,
be
Greg,
able to
thanks
get
for
a liquor
volunteering.
license.
Oh, I've done that. We do that at our condo, and I'm always serving
If it's
50
just
to
gonna
100
be a small
people
thing,
doing
we might get
burgers
away
and hot
without
dogs.
being able to do it.
That
You know
could
what?
be
There's
our
restaurants
back
right
pocket
Yeah.
plan. We wouldn't have
I don't
adult
know.
beverages,
They'll figure it
but-
out.
So March
Okay.
25th is our
water.
desired date.
Yes. All right. We move
So
with that a little bit.
Austin, we do have a new town logo, so we're gonna completely trash the old banner and we're gonna order a new banner. So everyone's aware. Again, tentative until we can confirm the date, but we do need to know that date sooner than later because we'll have to get that scheduled. If it is gonna be town hosted, I can work, Sam, I know you've done the permits in the past. I can work with you, on doing pulling that special event permit, or whoever is selected to pull the permit. And then just some of the logistics of it, if it's a tent, if it's tables and chairs, we'll have to work with figuring that out and borrowing some of those tables and chairs from Bay Oaks. But if that's how we're going, that's something I definitely need to know.
You wanna just wait until next week till we find out some more information,
About whether we're gonna go ahead with
whether
it.
the date and the,
Yeah, we need to find out dates, and I don't know if we need a motion now for,
I don't think so.
let's check the dates. How to work on that Friday, that'd be great. If not, we'll discuss it next week, next month.
Tentative dates, or if he comes up with a date for how, can it be set before the next month, or?
I think I've heard consensus from the committee that the ideal date would be that Friday, March 25th for kind of happy hour, as long as food trucks are available. If not, would be the Saturday, and then if not, it would be the following Friday or Saturday combo. So it's either the last weekend of March or the first weekend of April, is what I've heard.
They ought to be able to move forward without our
yeah,
vote.
I think. Yeah, I mean, we have our preferred date, but then we have some backup dates too.
And Greg, if you're gonna take the lead on that food truck thing, I'll touch base with Allison, because I know she's had some catered
Okay, just
events down there at the
email it to
Mound
me or
House, and see if
send me
she's got some
contact. Yep.
contacts.
I think we could also expand it maybe to the Thursday before as well. I mean,
24th, you
the
mean?
24th or it would be March 31st, I guess. I mean, our preferred are
See
the
what they're
Fridays.
available.
See
They
what's
come back
available.
with a Thursday, I'll tell you guys next meeting,
Yeah.
Thursday is what
Well,
it
and
is.
with that in mind, I realize this is setting the next meeting. Perhaps we should do a really, really short meeting in December. If we're gonna move forward with this, you can't really wait till
It's early,
January.
December's the 15th, so that's not,
Yeah.
shouldn't be too much on the
I mean,
holidays.
I would say, let's do like a half an hour meeting and just touch bases really quick.
This singular item to be the Cruisers Appreciation Day on your agenda?
We can
Or do
do,
we want to try and finish up the strategic
well, we can
plan?
finish up the
We only got
strategic
3
plan
sections
too.
left
We have
on
3
that.
sections.
We can leave that, we'll add on, I'll work on updating this because a lot of these kind of overlap each other, the expansion and the staff report. So we'll try to consolidate this. We'll be brief on our update, but focus mainly on the strategic plan and Cruisers Appreciation Day for,
The other thing about Cruisers Day is, we really want to have it at least an hour after 5 o'clock, because we do invite the public. So anybody that's, we want
4 to 6 or.
yeah, like a 4 to 6, like, don't end
4 to
it
7.
Don't end it at 5 o'clock.
well,
Give
you
everybody
keep in
a
mind
chance.
too, with these vendors, they're not gonna wanna come down just for 2 hours. They're not gonna wanna fight traffic in March, come down for 2 hours. So if anything, it could be
And when sunset is.
maybe, at a minimum, I would say 5 hours. That way people are getting off work, they can pop in at their own leisure. And staffing wise, it's easier for us on a Friday than it is on a Saturday.
Well, the reality is, though, if you have a food truck, we're completely out of it, really. We can be there from 5 to 7, and then if they want to stay till 9, the food truck,
They can stay under the bridge.
The
they
party
can
is there.
stay there. We don't necessarily have to stay there.
And
Is that correct?
Correct. The special event would be a set time frame. You all are not required to stay. We will have staff the entire time of the event for making sure cleanup and stuff like that. But is it the committee's intent to do a raffle like in the past?
Yeah, and that's a window of,
And that
people
can be
don't
a very
wanna stay there
short
too
window.
long.
It can be a 2-hour window, or, giving, or a
that we
1-hour
work up
window,
to
or
and do.
whatever, so I don't think if the food truck needs to stay there longer, because anybody can come in for
I
the
don't know,
food
food truck may want to, if we get a decent enough crowd, they might want to just get in and out and make their money.
So then too, looking for, if the raffle is the intent, then of course I would need to figure out designated or who's.
I will bring the list that we did last time to our next meeting, and we know who did, but we have a new member who can maybe bring in we've usually gotten items that we'll buy raffle tickets, and then we pull a number out and have items from people around here. And it could be really different now, with COVID and everything, who knows hopefully some people will help us out still, but anyway, I'll bring the list from last time to next meeting so we can and make some copies so we can make.
Is there anything else that you need from staff with regards to the cruisers? Or anything in that matter?
Sign.
Yeah, make the date real
Oh,
easy to
well,
change for next time.
The
too.
other thing that we talked about that we should think about for next meeting is we've had giveaways, and we had all of those little
The keychains.
floats,
yeah.
keychains, which are kind of not,
Yeah, we're working on getting some new swag.
we need to talk.
I was just told that those food trucks have a minimum 2 hour.
I'm
Minimum
just
2
looking
hour.
it up, yeah.
All right,
Well, by the time we get it set up, we're gonna probably be at least 3 hours.
I would think.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was my member item, so,
I was gonna say, they almost all specialize, so is there like any one particular thing you think would be the best for us for me to be looking at? They won't do everything. They'll either do tacos, food, sushi, barbecue,
not sushi.
throw sushi out there.
Not sushi for me. I think, tacos are great.
barbecue.
Or barbecue.
Yeah.
Barbecue or tacos.
I would suggest probably 4 trucks,
Four
different,
trucks show up?
4 if possible, at a maximum.
I don't think you'll get 4.
a
I had a hard
maximum.
time getting two
That,
at
because
my
I'm just
bar.
thinking logistically with that lot, the four corners, and then you would have four different options of,
Okay, I'll look at, see what they
And
say.
maybe
but
make sure that they have beer, if you can get one that has draft beer too, or something, some kind
That's
of
what I'll
beer.
look at. Most of them
Good.
will have something.
That would be good.
Well,
'cause-
let's find out our options. Who would be
I don't think we'll
available.
get four though, maybe two. I want a
Greg,
minimum
I'm
for
gonna need
that.
you to be optimistic.
Bubba's Food Truck.
Yeah.
There's not really enough, there might not be
Roadkill
enough
special.
patron, customers to support four food trucks.
That's what I would say maximum.
How many people come to this event? They're gonna ask me that.
Well, I'll send it to Chelsea and or can I send him the numbers of people that came to the last few? Because I have that.
Send it to me and I'll get it to him.
Okay, because I can give you what we've had, the last few.
We're gonna build this up to such, we're gonna build the hype to this event so much that we're gonna blow old numbers out of the water.
Good.
Anyway, I'll send it to Chelsea and she can send it to you, so, all right. Well, as I was saying, we're setting the agenda for next meeting, so we'd have a little report for that. Finish up the strategic plan and this, and that's it for next time.
And we'll give a brief.
And we'll
staff
do
update.
brief as much as possible, but I think we really need to, I was gonna say not meet in December, but if we're gonna do this event, I think we really need to, because we gotta get it going, so.
It
Especially
should
with
be
the
far
holidays.
enough before the holidays. It's December 15th would be our date.
So member items, Bob, do you have any?
Nope.
Okay,
Ma'am.
no, Mike?
Just one thing, I'm really welcome these occupancy numbers. Can we assume that, like, for example, next meeting we would get November? In other words, could this become an,
I will put it on my
regular thing?
calendar to send it with your agenda packet.
okay, great.
Nothing?
I just try to reiterate something I said earlier. I was told, that in looking for numbers and so forth, are too much into the operating. And you can tell the staff what you want to have happen and let us make it happen. I suppose we cannot determine what we want to happen without knowing what is happening. I would say that I'd like to continue to pursue the figures of, for numbers till we can keep.
Here's your unaudited numbers.
Yes,
And
no, I
when would
agree
they-
with you.
Will they be audited?
I mean, it's been a little struggle.
Yes, yes. Well,
Anymore.
with finance, we've had a lot of different people go through that department too.
Well, and Greg made a good point. Prior years, this committee was responsible for the oversight of the budget and our expenditures. That's not the role of this committee anymore. You may have the numbers, we can provide you the numbers, but it is not this committee's purview to dictate how it's being spent or the revenue.
It never was. It was for planning purposes.
Okay.
And we can't plan when we don't know what's going on.
Okay.
And to make decisions about this without some concept of what's going on, it seems unreasonable.
Fair statement.
Well, we never really made the budget, ever.
No, and we didn't
We never
want to.
did,
We were
even
just seeing what's
though
going
it
on.
was necessarily our responsibility, but we reviewed it just to see, and that's how we came to find also that we were paying for the sheriff for everybody when we shouldn't have been. And that's part of looking at it
Yeah.
to say, why is this here? Because we've never really made the budget or approved the budget or anything. But it's
don't want
nice
to.
to know
I-
kind of what's going on.
We do have some steady staff upstairs now. Excellent staff, very cooperative, communicating monthly. That's what this is, unaudited monthly report, that I will confirm with them upstairs that they're okay with me distributing that to you for your monthly reports, as well as the occupancy numbers. We'll try to get back into that routine like was done 2+ years ago. But I will do my best.
Just to replace the occupancy and income would be a great first step.
Any items?
I have one, you all did remind me, the WCIND contract is going to town council on December 6th. because as you know, we were awarded $25,000 with a $25,000 match, which was put in the budget and approved. It's just the town manager, that's above his authority for execution. So that'll go to town council for their approval on December 6th for a not to exceed amount of $50,000 for additional boat details above and beyond their standard level of operations. It'll be the extra, the holidays, the weekends, when we ask for additional boat patrols in the waters surrounding Fort Myers Beach.
Where's my thing? Here. Hold on. So public, we've set the agenda for next meeting, and we've set when the next meeting is going to be. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Bob Beasley, motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
Thank
All
you.
in favor? Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to go through the plan. I think we'll go through. Went faster than I thought it was going to, actually, so.
I had the same thought.
It was like my eyes glazed over with that. So, Chelsea,